We are Wooden Spoon Wargaming and welcome to the channel.
With your host, Unprofessional Hobbyist.
We can be found across varying social media platforms here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook and our own website www.woodenspoonwargaming.com. Time zone appropriate greeting to you and welcome back to the channel. I'd like to welcome you to another Community Spotlight interview. This time, it's a one-man, hobby-positive hurricane, the one-man crusade to make Pedro Cantor a Primaris, the awesome leader of SN Battle Reports. Welcome, Steve Pardo.
Hello guys, thank you for having me.
Okay, thanks for joining us, Steve. So let's get straight on with the questions. These questions follow the normal format of a standard questions which I ask everyone, and then I'll break off into more personalised questions for yourself.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Okay. So Steve, how did you get into the tabletop wargaming hobby?
Well, basically, I've got three sisters, and one of my sisters' boyfriends used to play fantasy. Doesn't play at the moment, or hasn't played in many years. But he's the one that actually made me start the Warhammer. He used to buy me White Dwarfs. He used to guide me through some painting, and obviously he got me into fantasy. So that's basically how I started.
What type of hobbyist are you? A painter, collector, gamer, or a bit of a mix?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm definitely not a painter. I haven't painted in at least a couple of years now. I think the last army I painted was Shaggy's old Astra Militarum, which it must be at least 4 or 5 years since I think the last thing I did was paint a couple of basilisks. So I'm certainly more of the collector and the gamer, especially.
So what game systems do you play? Are you a one-person system, or have you started to spread out a bit?
Well, basically, as you can see, most of you have seen on SN, at the moment it's just all 40k. We used to do a bit of 30k a couple of years ago, which I really enjoy the fluff of it and the background of it. I think it's superb. But due to the rules changes from 7th to 8th and 30k not going on to 8th, it was a bit problematic for us to actually carry on playing 30k with so many rules changes. So at the moment I'm just playing 40k. I wish I could play more other games, especially I am really keen on playing Age of Sigmar, which I have tried out a couple of times, but it's just all due to time at the moment. I do have a full-time job as well as do SN, so at the time, the limited time I do have, it all goes on into 40k.
So what caught your eye when you were just starting out on the hobby?
I really enjoyed to read the books. I think the whole background about the 40k and how it all started with the Horus Heresy, and that's what brought me in. It's just an amazing story. You know, there's a lot of people that don't play Warhammer and are readers, and I've actually told them to read the Horus Heresy books, and they've really enjoyed it, even though they don't play Warhammer or know a lot about it. So I think what really brought me into the hobby was actually the books.
What sort of advice would you give someone just starting out the hobby, or maybe your younger self, now you've been involved in the hobby for a while?
As difficult as it is, I think the best advice I could give is not to buy a lot at the beginning. You know, it's something that a lot of people do. I still do it. A lot of people that have been in the hobby for a long time still do it, and I think it's something you really don't want to do. The best advice I can give is buy small, start small, and build from there. You know, there's no rush in the hobby. So the best advice is just that: buy a couple of units, build them, paint them, play them, and then from there, you know, you have a sense to where you want to work on, or what else you want to be part of your army. So I think the best thing is that start small and go from there.
Have you ever had an extended period out of the hobby?
Well, yes, actually I did. I was out of the hobby for, I believe, was 4 years. So what happened was, I'm a dancer as well, or have been a dancer semi-professionally for since the age of like 14, 15. So I used to compete a lot, and that took most of my time, as well as my MMA. I do a lot of mixed martial arts and cage fighting and stuff, which has a lot of hours of hard work and training. So basically, because of that, I just lost time to actually play Warhammer. So yeah, it must have been about 3 or 4 years without actually playing the game. I still used to buy like the White Dwarf magazines and stuff, and read about a couple of books here and there whenever I could. But yeah, it must have been about a 3 or 4 year break from the hobby.
So how did you get sucked back in?
Well, basically, I did get a lot of anxiety, and I actually didn't know why. I got into depression as well, which didn't help, and I didn't go out of the house for long periods. I put on a lot of weight. I stopped doing sports. I stopped doing my training, my normal training. But what I actually saw that would help me a lot and get my mind off it, because at the end of the day, the anxiety is all down to your thoughts, was play Warhammer. So what I would do is I would call a friend and we would have a game, and what I noticed was that whilst I was playing the game, I would never be thinking of those negative thoughts and that anxiety that I had. So that made me play a lot of Warhammer. So it got into like a daily routine for me to just relax and help me out, and it actually brought me out of that depression.
What's the best part of the hobby for you?
Best part of the hobby. There's a lot of actually good factors into that question, but I think it's more. The making friends and playing the game with someone else. You know, when you play video games and that, you're just playing against yourself. But when you have someone else on the other side of the table, or sometimes even more than one person on the other side of the table, that's where the fun is. You know, you're talking to people, you're being sociable, which helps with a lot of people. You know, there's a lot of people that aren't really sociable just because they're shy and stuff. And I think, personally, I think that's the best bit about the hobby: meeting people, making friends, and being sociable.
And on the other foot, what's the worst part about the hobby for you?
Worst part, there's a couple actually. Personally, I think the worst part is it's an expensive hobby. Let's be truthful. It has got even more expensive in the last couple of years with box sets and stuff going up in price. We are lucky that there's a lot of companies which do give discounts and stuff, but it is an expensive hobby, especially myself, which I like to commission a lot of my armies, which is extra costs on top of that. And then something I don't like as well is from the SN side is how much time and effort, which with a lot of love that goes into things that we put on the internet for others to actually enjoy. And there's a lot of people that just are not nice enough and don't appreciate the hard work that goes in the background for the viewers to actually have something to do and see. So that's something I don't really like.
Yeah, I've seen that recently with like random comments, like as we were talking before we started recording, like people writing you're the worst player, you're a cheater and stuff like this. It's something which I purely don't understand, because, you know, for me the enjoyment of the hobby is that I don't get to play games. You know, I play maybe 4 or 5 games a year. You know, my tournament, well, the SNGT last year doubled the number of games in 3 years I played.
It's amazing. Yeah, and like you said, I just don't get the point of people doing that. Like, I understand if you're watching one of my games and you're not liking my game style, or I'm making mistakes, there's always factors you have to get in. Like, there's factors to it. I don't play every single army. Obviously, everybody makes mistakes. We're all humans, and those comments like you cheated. It's like, dude, when you're recording with one hand, rolling dice with the other, and pick up a dice whilst you're recording, it's like it's just a simple mistake. There's no one will possibly record themselves cheating and actually put it on YouTube for all of you guys to actually comment about. It's just simple mistakes, and that drives me a bit down sometimes.
So what keeps you in the hobby?
What keeps me in the hobby? Well, apart from SN, which is now basically a business at the end of the day, it's a part-time I do as a business, which I really, really enjoy. I actually enjoy it more than my normal job. So it's more than a hobby at the moment, but I really enjoy just getting down, recording. I love to edit. The editing is really, really funny. I even though I've just played the game, and when I'm editing, I'm actually seeing the game again. Which is really, really enjoyable, and mostly of all is just playing with friends, which you see on a daily basis. We've got the whole team, which are really, really close friends, and more like family than friends, and that's what I really enjoy.
How do you deal with a burnout situation or a lack of hobby mojo, as it's called?
Just step back a bit, not totally, because that just defeats the purpose. Because if you like the hobby but you're just a bit burnt out, then just step back a bit. It happened to me actually a couple of months ago, where I was really enjoying 8th edition. I'm just going to point it out, I think 8th edition is the best edition there's been, and I've been playing since 3rd edition without missing. Probably I think I missed 5th edition with the period I was not playing, even though I was still reading about it. But it got to a point where 8th was going perfectly, but then there's been a lot of FAQs coming out, there's been a lot of books coming out, there's been Psychic Awakening coming out, all the other little books here and there, and it just got to the point where it reminded me a lot of 7th edition again. I played a couple of months ago, I played one of the locals with his Dark Angels, and the guy had to bring 5 books, and a couple of FAQs, which just burns you out a bit. It's like, back to that stage. So you just have to ride the wave. I think you just have to step back a bit. This is what there is at the moment. The game is, and just think positive. Think the game is at its best. A lot of people are playing again. So just chill out a bit, step back a bit, not think negatively, and just think on the positive things.
Has anyone inspired your hobby style or hobby life?
Yeah, there's a couple of people which really, really changed my vision in my style. I used to watch Striking Scorpion a lot. Me and Nick especially, so the N from SN is actually Nick, one of my good friends, which you've probably seen on the YouTube videos, or if you're an SN Plus member, you've actually met him on there. We used to watch a lot of Striking Scorpion, like on a daily basis. Every time there was a YouTube video, the first thing we would do is put it on and watch that. And I really enjoyed his tables. So if you've actually seen Striking Scorpion, if you haven't, check it out. He's a really, really good YouTuber. I really like how he sets up his table, really nice terrain. And that's part of why the vision of SN is actually to always have nice terrain on the table, because I really fell in love with Striking Scorpion's channel. And then another really, really good friend of mine, which is now really close to me, is Lawrence Baker from Tabletop Tactics. He really envisioned me in what the hobby can be and what it's all about. He's a guy that, even though he's competitive like me, he's always having fun. And when I met him the first couple of times at No Retreat, you could actually portray that. And that made me change the vision a bit. So I went competitively whilst I still have fun. And obviously it helped a lot with SN. He's always helped me out with SN and where to go and what my visions are. So yeah, those are probably the two people that changed my whole thought about the hobby.
What projects are you working on at the moment?
Actually this weekend would have actually been the Gibraltar Grand Tournament.
Yeah, I know.
Which sadly,
I'm still crying about that today.
Yes, it's absolute pity. So we've actually had to change some stuff, because obviously we were waiting for this tournament and we were really excited for it. So there's a lot of new terrain in the background, which we still haven't, I actually haven't even seen, because they've been shipped to Spain, and obviously we're in lockdown, so we haven't seen. So there's a couple of projects there to start some narrative campaigns with the certain terrain that we've ordered. I am starting a secret project, which not even the SN team know about. It's a new army, which I am getting commissioned by a good friend of mine, and I can't really wait. I have already been playing around with Battlescribe, and I have the lists ready. So there is that, and then obviously for those that know about it, there's the Children of the Neverborn, my personal Chaos Army, which is being expanded already. And if you are probably followers with Siege Studios, you might have seen that I've already got commissioned a 20-man possessed bomb, and a Demon Prince, just to go a bit more competitive with them. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to having those new armies on the table.
We'll talk about projects. Do you plan projects out, or do you just get sucked into what's competitive, or get the flavour of the month to try and add to your armies that you already have?
It's a bit of both, actually. I've always, my hobby started as a narrative. I really liked a narrative. The first group of friends which I actually played with, we always played narratively. We always played like Cities of Death with special missions and all this. And for those of you who have been following SN from the very start, our first missions and our first battle reports, classic style battle reports, were normally special missions with a lot of narrative to it. So if we are actually setting about a narrative or special mission, we obviously do talk about it months before and build it up from there. But on the personal side, SN side, and for the viewers' pleasure, obviously the viewers want to see the newest stuff. The newest units, what's competitive, what people are playing. So we have to balance it out as much as possible. So yeah, we do have the narrative side, which we normally think about it a couple of weeks or months beforehand, and then we have the competitive side, which is on a day-to-day basis. This is new, this is what they're playing, this is what we need to show.
If your budget was unlimited, but you'd only buy one army, what would it be?
I'm an Imperial player. Everybody knows I'm more Imperial, even though I'm doing the Children of the Neverborn and all this chaos, and I do play Elder, and I do play Nids, as you know. We've been talking about Tyranids a lot lately.
Oh, yes.
I'm an Imperial player, so it would have to be a Space Marine Legion. I think one of my favorite Space Marine Legions actually are the Imperial Fists. Even though I don't have an army at the moment, I do have a successor chapter, which are the Crimson Fists. But if I had to build an army now, it would certainly be the Imperial Fists. I really like the color yellow. I really like the background and the style of play and warfare they have.
What do you hope to improve with regard to your hobbying in the future?
Improve-wise, basically, it's all down to time at the moment. There's so many things I want to do. But it's down to time. Like I've thought about doing podcasts before, but I just don't have time. And I really enjoy podcasts. I like to at least I easily watch a couple a day, or hear a couple a day of podcasts. Then I would like to do more events a year. But again, it's down to time. There's a lot of work in the background for the build-ups, and it takes months and months to actually get to a good standard for an event. So hobby-wise, I just think I just want to do more events. I go to more events and compete a bit more. The only problem we have here is that Gibraltar is a very small place, and the closest country is actually Spain. Which isn't my kind of place to go for competitiveness. It's quite different to what you see in the UK and stuff. So for where I want to go and where I want to compete, it's UK, which means flights, hotels, and obviously there's a lot of money which you have to invest to do that. But I do want to have about 5 tournaments a year now. That's my vision. I actually had a couple of tournaments lined up to go, but due to COVID-19, that's been a bit stopped at the moment. But as soon as all this is over, I do want to get myself back to Warhammer World, and I do want to go, or I do have a ticket for the Malmo GT in October in Sweden, which I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, Steve, that's part 1 finished. Thanks very much. So let's go on to part number 2, which is more which is more personalised questions for yourself. So you are the S in the SN battle reports, even though Shaggy keeps on referring to him, SN as Shaggy Nathan battle reports. How did the SN battle report start?
So like I said, go back to the not so nice years where I had a lot of anxiety and depression, and back to the Striking Scorpion bits. So we used to watch a lot of Striking Scorpion, and we used to like it a lot. And then at that certain time is when the White Dwarf stopped actually being a White Dwarf and went into Visions. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes. Yeah.
And they actually stopped doing battle reports, and that's something that I really missed. I used to every month buy the White Dwarf just to read about the battle reports, and I was playing so much Warhammer because of my anxiety and all this, that I just got the idea of actually starting a classic style channel, which worked wonders. A lot of people enjoyed. We enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, it basically started. Many of you don't actually know this, but it actually started as SP Battle Reports. So it was my full first name and second name. I think it's the first time I'm actually mentioning it. So you heard it here first.
Oh, brilliant! Exclusive. So, thanks so much.
Exclusive, yeah. So it actually started as Stephen Pardo, which is my full name, Battle Reports. But a couple of weeks later, there was a lot of work going into it. I was getting a lot of followers, a lot of messages. So I decided to bring in Nick, which is one of my close personal friends. And he decided, yeah, let's go ahead. He did obviously invest a bit of money as well, like I did, in terrain and mats and boards and armies. So it was only fair to actually get him part of the logo. So we changed it to SN, I think it was a month later. It was changed to SN, and it's just been a really cool ride from there.
So you were well known for your battle reports like White Dwarf Star, which were produced on the internet, but then recently you've branched out to video battle reports. Was that something that was in the long-term plan for yourselves, or were you just like, it's now time to do it?
It was never in the plan to do it. I've been the team's a big team now. We've got 5 guys, and I've always been a lot of the team and a lot of supporters and fans have always wanted us to do it. But to tell you the truth, I've been the only one that's been I've been the one that's been negative and said no, because I want to stay towards the classic style. Because of a couple of reasons, and I'll actually tell you why. I've met a lot of good friends throughout this, which do have their own channels, and for me it was very difficult to actually tell them I'm going to start, because at the end of the day it is competition. If I'm starting video battle reports and my friend has a channel, it's always going to be competition. So that was one of the things that actually told me not to. Apart from that, I wanted to be different, and I wanted to have the classic style, because I think we're one of the only one probably in the world that actually do it. But then the team actually said, look, let's do a survey. There's a lot of people asking. Let's actually see what the fans want. So we did a survey, and I think it was a crazy 89% out of I think it was 100 and something surveys that came in wanted video battle reports, and that opened my eyes a bit and said, I think it's time to actually do it. And it's actually really gone down well. We've got hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube already. Our YouTube has grown to I think 8,000 followers in a matter of months. I think we started last July, so it hasn't even been a year. It's helped a lot with SN Plus. We've got a lot of new subscribers on SN Plus, so it's been for the good run.
So what do you feel with producing content on a regular basis, as you're doing now, like one for YouTube, one for your own SN Plus site, which I really enjoy and I'm a member of, so do you feel that it could have a negative effect on your enjoyment in the hobby?
So it's obviously going to have a negative effect, because it's like you do have to have deadlines, same as exams and stuff. You always stress out when you have exams and you have deadlines for exams and coursework and all that. But at the moment, I'm really enjoying it. It's what I enjoy the most during the day and throughout the day, and I'm always thinking about it. And like I said, I enjoy every single minute of it. But obviously, there is the negative side where I do have the SN Plus side, which I do have to, and there's people supporting it. Obviously, there's people paying for the subscription, so I do have to offer them content. At the moment, I think I'm doing 3 or 4 battle reports for SN Plus, and I'm usually doing about 1 or 2 a month for YouTube. So it's maybe 5 or 6 a month, which is a lot of work by the time you actually edit everything. But like I said, I'm enjoying every minute of it. And there's a couple of times where the team has met up and said we should put out a day where battle reports are coming out, like every Friday. And I've always been against it because that gives me that extra stress of knowing that I need something for Friday. So at the moment, we haven't got a specific day where battle reports come out, and we just put them out whenever we have them ready.
Recently, in some of your videos, you've showcased the beautiful commissioned character series which you've made, where each of the team members is their own tabletop miniature. How did that come about?
As many of you know, I do have a big Crimson Fist army, which I actually started off by buying part of it on eBay. And I did get in touch with the painter, and I said, look, I'll buy this army if you actually carry on commissioning it. I'm a big fan of Imperial Fist, and so Crimson Fist, and obviously the background for the Crimson Fist is with Rain's World and all that is absolutely spectacular. For those that haven't read the book, read it. It's one of the best ones out there, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a Crimson Fist player. So I do like the Crimson Fist a lot, and I think as it's my personal army, I think it's my most personal army. I thought I could get even more personal by having the character series. So I spoke to the painter. He's an amazing painter, and Farius, I think his name is on Instagram. So Barry Watkins, hopefully you're watching. He is an amazing painter and an even better sculptor, as many of you have seen. So we got to talk about it, and the first thing that it was actually his idea to do a captain for myself. And I said, why not? Let's do the whole character series. And people have really enjoyed it. I really enjoy it. So yeah, now we've got the 5 characters, all individual characters. And they, apart from them looking superb, they always bring a bit of extra narrative when I'm playing with them.
So with this content production on YouTube and the written battle reports on your website, you're also very well known for the No Retreat series of events which you've run. We are now up to planning number 9, I believe. No
Retreat 9.
Yeah, how did they start, and what's the format for them?
So No Retreat. So I think it was in the second year of SM Battle Reports. We wanted to do an event, and like we did with the classic style, we just wanted to be different. So actually, a couple of us, myself, Julian, and Kevin at the time, which was part of the SN team. We actually sat down and said, look, let's make this different. What can we do to make an event different? And we came out with this style of event, which is application only. Apart from that, Gibraltar is an absolutely beautiful place, and I thought it was really, really good to have an event here in Gibraltar because the sun's always out. Like, it's a really nice community. The rock looks spectacular. You know, you've got 2 continents you can look at 2 continents from here, 3 countries. It's surrounded by water. So what better place to do it? So yeah, we did this application-based event where people apply, and we actually pick the best armies that we think are the best ones. And obviously they have like this exclusive hobby weekend. It's obviously a tournament at the end of the day, but we wanted it to be more of a hobby weekend where we all eat together, we have barbecues, and all the armies are to a very high standard. And it's just grown so big. We had 169 applications in the last one, all to a very, very high standard. We've already had 16 different countries being represented, which is it's still hard to believe. And yeah, when you get selected, we send you this exclusive invite as well, which creates this really cool vibe to it as well. And yeah, we're really enjoying that as well.
Last year, 2019, you must have jumped out your comfort zone by not having an invitational tournament, but having the grand tournament in Gibraltar, where me and you first met. And that was our first tournament as a team. That was purely the reason why our team formed was because I pulled my friend Dave with me because he was going through some tough times in his life. We sort of bullied Sean to come with us and formed Wooden Spoon Wargaming. How did the Grand Tournament go about, and was it a lot more difficult to organise because you didn't have everyone in the same place and then you doubled the numbers?
Yeah, so it actually isn't as difficult to organise as No Retreat. And talking about No Retreat is why we started the Grand Tournament. So as No Retreat was application based only, there was a lot of people that wanted to meet the team, wanted to play on our tables, wanted to come to Gibraltar, and just weren't making the cuts. And I just thought just wasn't fair for all those people that wanted to do all those listed things. So we came down to say, look, let's do a GT again with a difference. All our tables, let's do all our tables to have to a very, very high standard. Every table is what you actually see on our bar report, so it's to a very high level. And that's what we did. We doubled the I think it was 70 last year, if I believe. I think we did the 70 man to start with. This year was supposed to be 104, but it's been cancelled or rescheduled for now, probably to November, but there's no confirmed dates yet. And yeah, that's basically why we did it. We wanted to cater for those people that didn't have painted armies or highly painted armies, and did want to have or feel the SN events for themselves. So we decided to do the GT. And going back to, was it more difficult? No, because No Retreat, we actually, I think, babysit all the players for months before we start a WhatsApp group, and we do have to send invites out, which takes weeks to do. And then we obviously cater. We ask for a lot of things from the players. We organize tours. We organize their rooms. We organize their pickups from the airports. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes, which we normally don't do for the GT. You know, GT tickets come out, you buy them, and we'll see you at the events.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So Steve, thank you very much for this. It's been an amazing time. Where can people find you if they want more information about SN Battle Reports?
So we're on all social media really. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and then we've got our own private website, which is being revamped at the moment. So in probably about 2 months' time, we'll have a really good relaunch for SN. Again, something that you've heard it here first. I haven't said anything about it. So we are redesigning the website as well. So it's snbarreports.com, and we've got all our YouTube videos and classic style videos there. We've also got the SN Plus content there, and all the information about our events as well.
Perfect, Steve. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Catch you back.